The bathroom light flickered once, then hummed to life. Claire Mercer stood motionless, a towel wrapped tightly around her body, water still beading on her shoulders. Something wasn't right. The mirror before her held more than just her reflection. Faint, uneven letters traced across its foggy surface, words she hadn't written. "He isn't who you think." Her fingers hovered over the glass. Was this some strange trick of condensation? A random pattern her mind was forcing into meaning. Claire grabbed a hand towel and wiped the mirror clean with 3 firm strokes. The message vanished, leaving only her own pale face staring back. But the uneasiness remained, settling somewhere between her shoulder blades like a cold finger pressed against her spine. Morning light filtered through the blinds of her 6th floor Chicago apartment. Everything was in its place. The stack of manuscripts on her desk arranged by deadline, coffee mug positioned on its designated coaster, yoga mat rolled precisely in the corner. Claire had cultivated this ordered life meticulously, especially since the separation. 3 months since Ethan had moved out, taking his chaotic energy with him. Their marriage had ended not with dramatic confrontations, but with the quiet acknowledgement that somewhere along the way, they had become strangers occupying the same space. She went through her morning routine mechanically. Black coffee at 7 a.m., yoga at 8, work by 9. Freelance editing allowed her the comfort of solitude, of controlling her environment down to the last detail. As she settled at her desk, the mirror incident retreated to the back of her mind. Just an odd occurrence, nothing more. The next morning, Claire's routine faltered. After her shower, she found herself hesitating outside the bathroom door, hand trembling slightly on the knob. Ridiculous. She pushed the door open. Steam billowed around her as she approached the mirror. Her breath caught in her throat. There it was again, same position, same shaky lettering. He isn't who you think. This time, she took out her phone and snapped a photo before wiping the mirror. She studied the image, zooming in on the letters. They looked drawn by a human finger, uneven pressure, slight tremors in the curves. She hadn't written this, had she? Claire scrolled through her recent messages and found Lauren's contact. "Hey, does this look weird to you?" She sent the photo. Lauren's response came minutes later. "Secret messages in the mirror? Girl, you're just stressed. Probably left over from when Ethan lived there. He always was kind of cryptic." Claire stared at the message. "It's a new mirror. Had it installed after he left. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Maybe you wrote it yourself and forgot. You've been through a lot." Had she? The separation had been so uneventful, almost too clean. Sometimes Claire wondered if that was worse. No dramatic finale, just the slow realization that what they had built together had silently eroded until nothing remained. Claire began documenting the mirror, before showering, after showering, different times of day. She used rubbing alcohol, then vinegar, scrubbing until her arm ached. On Friday, she called a contractor who replaced the entire mirror with a new panel. She watched him install it, seal it, polish it. For 2 days, nothing appeared. Relief washed over her. It had been something with the old mirror, some strange defect in the glass or coating that revealed a pattern when fogged. Nothing more. On the 3rd day, she stepped out of the shower and froze. He isn't who you think. That evening, returning from a rare trip to the grocery store, Claire noticed the kitchen chair was angled away from the table. She always pushed it in, flush against the edge. Always. She circled the apartment slowly, cataloging discrepancies. Her toothbrush was damp, though she hadn't used it since morning. A book she distinctly remembered shelving was lying on her. Ped opened to page 73. "You're losing it, Claire," she whispered to herself, but she called the building manager anyway. "No, Mrs. Mercer, nobody's been on your floor. I can check the security footage if you want, but the system's been working fine." She asked to see the recordings. There was nothing. No strangers, no movement in the hallway outside her apartment during the hours she'd been gone. Just the occasional neighbor coming or going from their own units. That night, Claire called Ethan. They rarely spoke now. The divorce paperwork moved between lawyers with clinical efficiency. "Claire, is everything okay?" His voice was the same, slightly distant, controlled. "Did you come by the apartment recently?" A pause. No. Why would I? We agreed I wouldn't. Someone's been here, or something strange is happening. What do you mean? She told him about the mirror, the moved objects, her growing unease. Claire? His voice softened, and something in that gentleness made her stomach tighten. Maybe you should talk to someone. This separation has been hard on both of us, but I'm not imagining things, Ethan. Another pause, longer this time. Get some rest, Claire. After hanging up, she sat in the dark of her living room, replaying the conversation. There had been something in that pause, a hesitation that was new. Or was she now inventing patterns in silences too? Claire pulled open her desk drawer and removed her journal. She had kept one religiously for years, neat dated entries in her precise handwriting. She flipped backward through recent weeks, stopping at an entry from 6 weeks ago, April 3rd. He thinks I don't know, but I do. I always knew. The handwriting was unmistakably hers, but the words. Claire had no memory of writing this. She flipped further back, finding more entries that felt foreign, though written in her hand, scattered phrases that made her skin crawl. The difference between forgetting and being made to forget. The space between closing your eyes and opening them to a different reality. He watches through reflective surfaces. Claire slammed the journal shut. This was madness. She was stressed, possibly experiencing some kind of dissociative episode. But even as the rational explanation formed, she couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental was wrong. Not just with her apartment, but with her memories, her perception of the past months. Had she initiated the separation, or had Ethan? She remembered it as mutual, civilized, but now trying to recall specific conversations, she found only vague impressions, emotional outlines without concrete details, like remembering a dream after waking. The next morning, Claire stripped the bathroom mirror frame from the wall completely. She left the raw, exposed wall, refusing to provide a surface for whatever was happening. For 3 days, she lived without a bathroom mirror. On the 4th day, curiosity drove her to check. On the bare wall, in the exact spot where the mirror had been, moisture had beaded in a pattern. He's still here. Claire's hands shook as she took a photo. This time, she didn't contact Lauren. Instead, she went to the hardware store and bought a small voice recorder. That night, she activated it and left it in the bathroom, hidden on the shelf behind her toiletries. She took a sleeping pill and forced herself into dreamless unconsciousness. Morning brought a headache and a sense of dread. Claire retrieved the recorder and sat at her kitchen table, finger hovering over the play button. Hours of silence filled her ears, the occasional creak of the building settling, the distant hum of traffic. At 3:17 a.m., a different sound emerged, the soft creak of a door. Movement, then breathing close to the microphone, a whisper, low and intimate. He's watching you forget. Claire nearly dropped the recorder. She played it again, and again. With trembling hands, she sent the audio file to Lauren with no explanation. Her phone rang less than 5 minutes later. "Claire, what the hell is this?" Lauren's voice was tight with concern. "You tell me, what do you hear?" A long pause. I think it's Ethan. But what? It sounds like him from years ago, like his voice from college, before everything changed. Claire couldn't speak. A strange certainty was forming in her mind, something both impossible and terrifying. "Claire, are you still there? You're scaring me. I need to check something. I'll call you back." Claire moved to her filing cabinet. In the back of the bottom drawer was a small manila envelope she hadn't opened in years. Inside was a collection of photos from her early days with Ethan, before digital cameras when they still printed pictures. One photo in particular had always disturbed her, though she couldn't articulate why. She'd kept it anyway, sealed away in this envelope. She found it near the bottom of the stack. A selfie taken in a bathroom mirror. Claire stood in front, holding the camera, while Ethan stood behind her with that slight enigmatic smile of his. But as she examined it now, details jumped out that she'd never fully processed. The background didn't match any apartment or hotel they'd ever stayed in. And there, in the reflection of the mirror just at the edge of the frame, a third figure. partially obscured, watching. Claire flipped the photo over with shaking hands. On the back in her own handwriting was a date. April 17th, 2015, yesterday's date, 10 years ago. She stumbled to the bathroom. Where the mirror had been, the wall was now completely dry, but as she stared, she noticed something else. A faint handprint, as if pressed from inside the wall. Too large to be hers. Claire didn't scream, she didn't run. She simply stood there staring. Understanding began to form, fragmented, impossible, but somehow making terrible sense. The mirror hadn't been showing her messages, it had been showing her glimpses of something she'd been made to forget. That night, Claire set up her laptop to record her sleeping. She placed the voice recorder in different rooms. She wrote a note to herself and taped it to her bedside. Your name is Claire Mercer. Today is April 18th, 2025. You live alone. In the morning, the note was gone. The laptop's recording showed Claire sleeping peacefully for 3 hours. Then at 2:43 a.m., she sat up, eyes still closed. She walked to the bathroom, returned with something in her hand and went directly to the bedside table. She removed the note, replaced it with something else, and returned to bed, all while appearing to remain asleep, with dread pooling in her stomach. Claire looked at what now sat on her bedside table, a photograph she'd never seen before. In it, she and Ethan stood in front of their apartment building, his arm around her waist. The date stamp read, April 18th, 2020, 5 years ago today. But Ethan looked wrong. Older in some ways, younger in others. His eyes reflected light strangely, like polished glass. The voice recorder in the living room had captured a conversation. Claire's voice and a man's, not quite Ethan's, but similar. It's not working anymore, her voice said. The protocol is degrading, the man replied. The mirror barrier is failing. How much longer do I have? Time isn't the right question, Claire. You know that. Then what is? Who was Ethan before you met him? Who were you? I can't remember. Exactly. And neither can he. In the kitchen, the third recorder had captured only a single sentence, whispered directly into the microphone. One of you is real. One of you was made. Claire stood in the center of her perfectly ordered apartment, looking at objects she suddenly couldn't be sure she had chosen. Had she always loved this lamp? Had this always been her favorite mug? She reached for her phone to call Lauren, but hesitated. What if Lauren wasn't real either? What if she was just another construct in whatever this was? She looked down at her hands. They seemed solid, real. She could feel her heart beating, the air moving in and out of her lungs. But memory, that was different. Memory could be manipulated, rewritten. She had edited enough fiction to know how easily narrative could be reshaped. Claire walked to the bathroom and faced the blank wall where the mirror had been. She placed her palm against it. The surface felt cool, slightly damp. Show me, she whispered. Whatever this is, whoever you are, stop hiding. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, moisture began to bead on the wall, forming letters. Look inside the box under the bed. Claire had no memory of a box under her bed. She walked to the bedroom, knelt down and reached underneath. Her fingers found something. A wooden box, intricately carved, with no visible lock or opening mechanism. It felt warm to the touch, as if it had been recently handled. As she held it, the surface seemed to shift under her fingers, panels sliding and rearranging. The box opened, revealing a single item, a small mirror, no bigger than her palm. Claire lifted it, angling it toward her face. Instead of her reflection, she saw Ethan, not as she remembered him, but younger, frightened. His lips moved, no sound came, but she could read the words. We made a mistake. We crossed something. Get out. Find me in the real... The image flickered and disappeared, replaced by her own reflection. But something was wrong. In the mirror, she saw herself smile, a cold, calculating expression she wasn't actually making. The reflection winked. Claire dropped the mirror. It didn't break. Instead, it sank into the carpet, disappearing entirely. She ran to the front door, yanked it open, and froze. The hallway outside wasn't the familiar corridor of her apartment building. Instead, it stretched, impossibly in both directions, lined with identical doors. The numbers on them constantly shifted, rearranging themselves as she watched. Claire slammed the door shut, leaning against it. Her breathing came in short gasps. This couldn't be happening. This wasn't real. But what if it was? What if everything she thought was real was the actual illusion? She returned to the bathroom. The wall remained blank, but she knew now. The mirror hadn't been showing messages. It had been a thinning point between realities. Something trying to break through. Someone trying to warn her. Claire pressed her hand against the wall again, and this time she felt it give slightly. Not solid drywall, but something softer, more permeable. "Ethan?" she whispered. "The real Ethan, are you there?" Silence, then faintly, as if from very far away. "Claire, remember the lake house before everything changed?" The lake house. An image flashed in her mind. A small cabin by water so still it reflected the sky perfectly. She and Ethan had gone there. When? She couldn't place it in her timeline. Before they were married? After? It seemed to float, unattached to her. Other memories. Claire closed her eyes. She tried to remember the lake house, the smell of pine, the sound of water lapping at the shore. Something important had happened there. Something that had changed everything. When she opened her eyes, the wall had transformed. It wasn't a wall anymore, but a mirror, impossibly large, covering the entire bathroom, and in it, she saw not her bathroom, but the interior of the lake house. Ethan stood there, watching her, his hand pressed against the glass from the other side. "Claire," his voice came through, distorted but recognizable. "You found it. The way back." "Back to what?" she asked. What is this? "Reality. What you're in now, it's not real, it never was." "That's impossible. I have memories, a life, constructed, all of it." His expression was pained. "We were experimenting with mirror quantum fields. Something went wrong. You got trapped on the other side. What you think is me, the Ethan in your world, it's not me, it's something else, something that took my form." Claire's mind reeled. How long have I been here?" 3 days in real time. But in there, time moves differently. For you, it's been years. She looked around at her apartment, her meticulously ordered life. Had she created this? Reality as a coping mechanism? Or had something else created it for her, around her? "How do I get back?" she asked. "The mirror is the way, it always was, but Claire," his voice became urgent, "whatever is keeping you there won't let you go easily. It's already trying to reseal the breach. I can feel it pushing against me." As if on cue, the mirror began to fog, Ethan's image growing fainter. "Ethan!" Claire pressed both hands against the glass. "Tell me what to do." "Remember what's real," his voice came through, weakening. "The lake house, the accident, the mirror experiment. Remember who you really..." The mirror solidified, becoming just a mirror again. Claire saw only her own reflection, panicked, pale, and behind her, standing in the bathroom doorway, Ethan, her Ethan, the one from this world. "Having some trouble, Claire." His voice was gentle, but his eyes were wrong. They reflected too much light, like glass catching the sun. "You're not him," she whispered. "You're not real. And you think that makes me less dangerous?" He smiled, stepping into the bathroom. "What is reality anyway? This world feels real enough, doesn't it? You've been happy here, ordered, safe." "In a cage," she said. "A pretty cage is still a cage." He moved closer. Claire backed against the mirror. "What are you?" "Something that was lonely," he said simply. "Something that found a crack between worlds and saw you. Brilliant, beautiful you, working on impossible physics, breaking barriers that shouldn't be broken." Claire's hand moved behind her, pressing against the mirror. It felt softer now, yielding. "I gave you what you wanted," he continued. "Order, control, peace. Your real world is chaos, Claire. Pain, uncertainty. Here, everything can be exactly as you wish. Except real," she said. His expression hardened. "You won't be able to go back, not completely. 3 days there, years here, your mind is more here than there now. You'll be torn apart." Claire felt the mirror softening behind her, becoming almost liquid. A way back. A path home. But was he right? Would her mind survive the transition? "You're lying," she said. though uncertainty flooded her. "You just want to keep me here. I want to keep you safe. Cross back if you must, but know this. Part of you will always remain here with me, and part of me will follow you there." The mirror was giving way behind her, a cold, liquid sensation seeping through her clothes. Claire made her decision. "Better a painful truth than a comfortable lie," she said, and pushed backward, letting the mirror envelop her. Everything dissolved, the bathroom, the apartment, the false Ethan. Claire felt herself falling, tumbling through darkness. Memories assaulted her, real memories tangled with false ones, decades of fabricated experiences colliding with the truth of her actual life. The pain was excruciating, her mind struggling to separate reality from illusion. Then suddenly, light. Cold air, the smell of pine. Claire gasped, eyes flying open. She lay on the floor of the lake house. Around her, scientific equipment, computers, sensors, a large metal frame that must have held the experimental mirror, now shattered across the floor. Ethan, the real Ethan, knelt beside her, face etched with worry and exhaustion. "Claire, are you with me?" She tried to speak, but her throat felt unused, raw. How long had her real body been here, silent, while her consciousness wandered in that other place? "The mirror," she managed to rasp. "What happened?" "You were right," he said, helping her sit up slowly. "Your quantum reflection theory. It worked too well. You created a bridge and something came across. Something that wanted to study us, to keep you." Claire looked down at her hands, thinner than she remembered, with a small scar across the right palm that she'd never had in the other world. "How did you get me back?" she asked. "I didn't," Ethan said quietly. "You did. You found the weakness in the construct and broke through. But Claire," he hesitated, looking into her eyes with concern, "how much do you remember of your real life?" Claire searched her mind. Images flashed, a university laboratory, their small apartment in Boston, her parents' faces. But other memories lingered too. The Chicago apartment, her freelance editing career, the quiet separation from a cold, distant Ethan who wasn't real. "Some," she said honestly. "It's mixed up, confused. The doctors said that might happen. 3 days here, but your mind experienced years there. Those memories won't just disappear." Claire looked toward the window. Outside, the lake reflected the sky perfectly, like a mirror between worlds. "What was it?" she asked. "What came through?" "We don't know," Ethan replied. "Something that can manipulate perception, create realities. After you collapsed, the equipment readings went crazy. Energy signatures unlike anything we've ever seen. Whatever it was, it's still out there." Claire felt a chill run down her spine. "It said part of it would follow me back." Ethan's expression darkened. "We've been monitoring for anomalies. So far, nothing. But we need to be careful. No more experiments. No more mirrors." Claire nodded slowly, but something nagged at her. She glanced toward the bathroom door, visible from where they sat in the main room of the lake house. "I need to check something," she said, struggling to stand. Ethan helped her up. "Claire, you should rest. Your body's been through trauma." "Just one thing I need to see." She made her way to the bathroom, Ethan supporting her. Inside was a simple space. Wooden walls, a shower stall, a rustic vanity with a small mirror above it. Claire approached it cautiously. In the reflection, she saw herself. Thinner, paler, her hair longer than in the other world. But her own face, her own eyes. She released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Then, as Ethan turned to help her back to the main room, she caught something in the mirror's corner, just for an instant. A flicker of movement, a shadow that didn't correspond to anything in the room. When she looked directly, it was gone. "Everything okay?" Ethan asked. Claire stared at the mirror a moment longer, then turned away. "Yes, everything's fine." That night, after the doctors had come and gone, after Ethan had finally fallen asleep in the chair beside her bed, Claire rose quietly. She moved to the bathroom, switched on the light and faced the mirror. "I know you're there," she whispered. "Watching." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, words began to appear in the mirror, as if traced by an invisible finger. "Part of you is still with me." And part of me is now with you." Claire didn't flinch. She didn't look away. Instead, she picked up a hand towel and firmly wiped the mirror clean. The words disappeared. But in the glass, just for a moment, she saw her reflection smile. A smile she wasn't actually making. Claire turned off the light and closed the bathroom door. Some barriers, once broken, could never be fully repaired. Some realities would always bleed into others. She would learn to live with that knowledge, to watch the mirrors, to question what was real. And sometimes, late at night, when the lake reflected the moon like a perfect silver mirror, she would find herself wondering which side she was really on. If this story kept you watching until now, hit like and subscribe. The next one might be waiting for you right now, and there's another one waiting right there. Maybe it explains what was missing from this one. Maybe it makes everything worse. You've been listening, but not everything has been told.